Hey there, home chefs. I was reminiscing about the good old days and felt compelled to try something I've not had since I was working my first job out of university, Pot Noodle. It's everything you want at that stage of life, cheap, quick, easy. And while there is a touch of nostalgia in the flavour, things can definitely be improved. So today I'm going to show you how to take Pot Noodle and transform it into a delicious, packed with flavour, home-cooked meal befitting a home chef.
So, grab a cup of tea and let's get cooking.
The ingredients are fairly simple in the spirit of the convenience of Pot Noodle. Beef, broccoli, ginger, garlic, as well as some chili, spring onion, and the liquids. There are a variety of Pot Noodle flavours, and my favourite is the beef. So to start off with, I've got 2 cheap supermarket cuts of steak I've had in the freezer for about 30 minutes. This makes it a whole lot easier to slice the steak thinly, which texturally works much better in a noodle dish in my opinion. Once that's done, into a bowl add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce as well as the juice from half a lime, and then add in the beef strips. Make sure it's all fully coated and then let marinate while we prepare the other ingredients. Broccoli is a great vegetable to boost the healthy part of this upgraded pot noodle, so definitely adding that in. And if you grab a whole head, it's usually a bit cheaper, and then you just need to chop off the florets for fresh broccoli. I'd recommend giving those a rough chop as well, so we don't have any giant pieces messing up the texture. Then, for our flavour enhancers, slice up or mince very fine some ginger and garlic, as well as the whites of a few spring onions, and be sure to save the green tops for garnish. Then a bit of heat will go very nicely, so I'm including a chili, but if you don't want it too hot, then be sure to remove those pesky seeds, otherwise things may get a little too hot to handle.
This is fine.
Slice that up thinly, and then the last bit of prep is the sauce, where we can get a massive improvement on that bland instant gravy from the pot noodle. Combine beef stock, the rest of the soy sauce and lime, and then optionally for a bit of sweetness to counter the heat, a touch of honey, and then a tablespoon of cornstarch to thicken it up a bit. If you forget to make a slurry, like I did, don't worry about the clumps. Grab a whisk, and eventually they should break up and combine. Now that the salt's done and the prep done, we can begin cooking the beef broccoli. Now normally you'd expect a wok to be recommended for this sort of dish, but unless you have a gas hob with a really good flame, the high edges don't actually heat up, so it's all a bit pointless. As I only have an induction hob, I'm using a heavy bottom pan which will work just as well. Get the heat on high and add a splash of sesame oil into the pan. Once that's nice and hot, add in your beef slices. As they're quite thin, they'll only need a minute or 2 on each side to sear, and then we can remove them from the pan to add in later. With another splash of sesame oil, bring the heat down to a medium, and then add the onions, garlic, ginger and chili, and saute for a minute in the juices from the meat. Next in goes the broccoli, and give that a few minutes to soften. Now there's a fair amount of soy sauce in this, so we don't need much extra salt, but I'm adding a pinch for the broccoli as they can turn out to be a bit bland otherwise. As they cook, we can add back in the beef, followed by our beautiful sauce. Let that simmer for 5 minutes to thicken up a bit, and really draw in all those flavours. The end product is an incredibly flavourful beef broccoli that's taken literally minutes to cook. Keep that warm while we turn to the ingredient that's the inspiration behind this dish, the pot noodles. Now I've already hinted that the instant gravy granules are not the best, so really I only want the noodles, and only a touch of the pot noodle flavour so it's not overpowering. A great way to achieve this is to grab a large bowl and then place a colander inside. Dump a pot noodle per serving into the colander and sift out the majority of the granules. Discard of those and then put the colander back into the bowl. Pour in enough boiling water to cover the noodles, then after 2 or 3 minutes, this setup means that we can just lift out the colander and leave behind all that leftover gravy. The noodles have been cooked in a broth, but are taking none of it with them. Genius! We've got our noodles and we've got our flavour. Let's plate up our grown-up pot noodles. Grab a bowl and drop in the noodles followed by a generous helping of that beef broccoli. Beautiful. Then finish off with some garnish like a few chilies and definitely the green tops of the spring onion. Sprinkling of some toasted sesame seeds is always recommended as well. And with all that I say voila! You've got a dish that really drives home flavour with some of those guilty pleasure noodles to soak it all up. I would say normally I would have this with some rice, more classic to a takeout, but it works really well with the noodles and it's actually exactly what I was going for. Reminds me of a simpler time when a pot noodle would suffice for dinner, but with far more nutritional value and a much better flavour to satisfy my grown-up self. So, next time you feel like treating yourself with a pot noodle, remember, you can treat yourself even more with this simple but amazing upgrade. Less than 10 minutes in the pan, and you've got a stunning beef broccoli that will enhance any noodle dish. I can't wait to see what you make of it, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, home chefs, get cooking.